Lick is old news. The Mitsuda Lick, however, is in this year. A few weeks ago, I was scrolling on Twitter and saw this thread about the so-called Mitsuda Lick and its ubiquity in video games. And I thought, yeah, that's cool, I guess. But then I thought about it some more. And then I kept hearing examples in the wild. And then I realized there's actually quite a bit more depth to this topic than is immediately apparent. So let's see what makes the Mitsuda Lick interesting, and what insights it provides on music theory and composition as a whole. You've probably heard a lot of examples already. It's in more places than you would expect.
Wait.
Before we talk about some cool music theory, first a word from today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Bellroy. Bellroy is the premier company when it comes to quality bags, wallets, luggages, and tech accessories. Everything features a modern, minimalist aesthetic, but with maximum durability and comfort in mind. All of their materials also have a huge focus on sustainability, from their ethically sourced leather to recycled nylon fabrics, so you can walk around with a bag that looks good while also being good for the environment. Bellroy was kind enough to send me their popular transit work pack, and I have been absolutely loving it. Some of you may know that I like to do my research, transcription, and scriptwriting at the library. The Transit Work Pack 20L is the perfect size for carrying my laptop and other related electronics to and fro. There's this spacious front pocket for easy access to my notebooks and tablets, this side pocket for my water bottle, a padded laptop sleeve with additional space for chargers and cables, and the main area opens up clamshell style, allowing me to access all of my belongings while also keeping things organized. It's all sturdy and water resistant, but also breathable and lightweight, carrying everything I need while also making my commutes super easy. Whether you're looking for equipment for travel, work, or just everyday use, Bellroy has the product for you. Get 10% off bellroy.com by using my link or by scanning the QR code. Link is in the description. Alright, so what is the Mitsuda Lick? According to Dante, who more or less coined the term, it's this figure, so named because it famously appears in Yasunori Mitsuda's Secret of the Forest from Chrono Trigger. But is this the Mitsuda Lick? There isn't an especially clear consensus. Some people consider just the descending bit to be enough to call it the Mitsuda Lick, while others say the descending bit must be attached to a longer note beforehand that jumps up, but that note can jump up by any interval. If you've seen my original lick video, this is nothing new. There are a lot of variations of the eponymous lick that are considered to just be the lick. But it's interesting to compare the two. We've standardized the lick in a sense. It has a platonic form that all variations are derived from. It's become this idea that can fit into a cute little box, or rather a t-shirt on Adam Neely's website.
I need it!
Okay, but seriously, the original lick is old enough and has been extensively talked about to the point of standardization, whereas the Mitsuda Lick is relatively new in its discussion as a phenomenon that there isn't really a perfect form that everyone agrees on. Once people do agree on it though, I'll start selling Mitsuda Lick t-shirts and make $10 billion. Okay, but anyways, for the purposes of this video at least, I consider the perfect Mitsuda Lick to be as follows. We have a fourth jump up from a long note into another long note, then two fast notes that step chromatically downwards into our final note. Exact rhythms don't really matter, I suppose, as long as it follows the general ratios between the longs and the shorts. More or less the same structure as outlined in Dante's original video. Before we take a look at some tunes, quick shout out to fellow music theory YouTuber Jaden Eubanks for making a bunch of Mitsuda Lick compilation videos. Honestly, it made the research way easier than it would have been. Alright, so let's finally listen to a bit of Secret of the Forest, from which the Mitsuda Lick derives its namesake. An iconic tune with a lot of interesting things to talk about. We have this ostinato outlining our two chords along with the bass, giving us a kind of Phrygian sound with our flat 2 to 1. But it's not quite that simple. That flat 2 opens up to our 1 minor 9. That G natural gives us a more standard minor flavor that's brighter in contrast to our earlier G flat from Phrygian. But the real magic is in the melody, which glisses up into that C for our juicy, juicy sharp 11 over that G flat major chord. Then we have the Mitsuda Lick as we fall into the aforementioned 9 over the F minor. It's just so ethereal that sharp 11, the 9, and the descending chromatic figure provide this unstable footing that rests atop the chords, but it's so bright and mysterious compared to the darker harmony beneath. This is where the power of the Mitsuda Lick comes in, and why it's so identifiable as its own distinct color. It's cool to think about why this lick feels so iconic, but also mostly idiomatic to the video game sphere. The original lick is all diatonic, walking up stepwise from 1, all with mostly uniform rhythms. All of these factors make the lick rather timeless and culturally non-specific. It's intuitive enough that cave people could have stumbled upon the lick at some point.
Here, right here. All your needs will be met.
But the Mitsuda Lick is a bit more unique and contemporary. The rhythms have this ebb and flow. We have these longer notes during the jump, then a fast chromatic fall, then longer notes after. And those main long notes hit these longing, strained tensions over the harmony. It's a very noticeable melodic phrase, especially within this kind of harmonic context and with that chromaticism. It's for this reason that you'll find, unlike many other motifs and licks, it's most often used as this big statement that takes us into a solid downbeat, or even as a cadential figure, versus appearing at the beginning or otherwise nested within the melody. But anyways, these factors form this secret harmonic convention that a lot of Mitsuda Lick tunes adhere to. We have a kind of Phrygian bass, focus on the tritone between the melody and harmony, and a resolution or cadential figure of sorts. We can see a strikingly similar appearance in Dragon Spiral Tower from Pokemon Black and White. It's almost the exact same melody with a similar kind of harmony that arpeggiates upwards in this Phrygian kind of thing. The difference is that here the harmonic rhythm has increased and flipped. We start on the 1 minor, then go to the flat 2 on resolution of the lick. Notice that sharp 11 in the melody between the D and A flat in the bass. This tune is frequently compared to Secret of the Forest, which makes a lot of sense of course. They are very similar, at least in this first bit. We'll talk more about this in the second half of the video, but if you guys want to see another tune that really resembles Secret of the Forest, check out Full Steam Colony from Dungeons of Aether. Absolute banger. The first 5 measures melodically are pretty much just Secret of the Forest verbatim, except swingy and in 3/4. I really like how it expresses our Phrygian and sharp 11 conventions though. We start on this cool hybridized chord, but then we go to the legendary Blackadder for this nasty sub 5. This is our flat 2 of sorts, and our melody hits the sharp 11 over this. But the harmony is aptly more jazzy and dominant. Either way, we do in fact get the normal flat 2 major 7 from Phrygian only a few measures later. So cool! These harmonic conventions under the Mitsuda Lick really are more common than you would think. We have this track from Phantasy Star Online, which has this Phrygian-ish shift plus the sharp 11 in the melody. Or Cool Edge Knight from Sonic Unleashed, which features the same but also using the Mitsuda Lick as a cadential figure at the end of the phrase. Or this track from Xenogears, also composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, which kind of does the same thing Sonic Unleashed did. These are the most common non-melodic conventions of the lick, but there are also many other convincing examples in more functional contexts. Mother 3's Snowman uses the Mitsuda Lick in the B section. We're in G major, then get another Blackadder which pulls us into this flat 2 for the majority of the B section, during which we hear our lick. The melody doesn't hit a sharp 11 over our E flat chord. In fact, this is probably the most nested Mitsuda Lick we've seen. The melodic phrase features just these dotted halves which zigzag upwards into our eighths. Except here we have those familiar descending sixteenths to add a bit of spice to our descent, technically giving us our lick in the middle of the phrase without a clear resolution. Pretty cool to see. Another example of a less standard context for a Mitsuda Lick can be heard in Solaceon Town from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Functional harmony kind of chord progression with secondary dominance and 2/5s. We get the Mitsuda Lick almost immediately, once again not really serving to end the phrase, but rather serving to connect these notes of our busier melody. It's notably a lot more chromatic than most of our other tunes we've seen, and the lick here kind of just fits nicely into our lazy, steppy kind of melody. Our final example of a less common context of the Mitsuda Lick can be heard in Undertale's Battle Against a True Hero. We have the classic Royal Road progression, with the Mitsuda Lick serving as a cadential figure. What I like is that rather than resolving to our 1 minor as expected, we actually go to the 1 major, or 5 of 4, giving it a more triumphant quality. The melody beforehand is simpler, both in terms of rhythms and note choice. Giving us this chromatic descent with those fast 30 seconds at this climactic moment just feels so good. It's interesting and provides contrast from the earlier melodic material, but the chromaticism isn't too jarring. Played quickly, these notes are really just passing tones that form this cute little bridge between the outer notes, much like what we've seen in the earlier examples. I do also want to briefly address the Zelda 1 flute sound, which I frequently see conflated with the Mitsuda Lick. It's definitely similar, but I don't consider it to be the same, due to the larger 7th jump between these guys rather than our standard 4th. Still, it's interesting to note because it predates Chrono Trigger by about 9 years. That isn't to say that Mitsuda was necessarily influenced by this little jingle, but it's certainly very possible, and if so, it's also cool to see how the Zelda Flute Lick has its own convergent evolution of sorts. This jingle was referenced only 2 years later by Koji Kondo in Super Mario Bros. 3's Warp Whistle theme. The Warp Whistle takes you to the Warp Zone, which plays its own musical theme, itself referencing the chromatic fall of the prior motif. What's neat is that this theme actually kind of matches our previously established conventions of the Mitsuda Lick. It's used cadentially to take us back to the start of the loop, and it's in a kind of Phrygian-ish space with that 1 to flat 2 progression. This same motif was later referenced by Kondo in the iconic Ocarina of Time title theme. This one actually does give us that wistful sharp 11 emphasis we see in the Mitsuda Lick, with us hanging on the B at the end of the F major measures. But it's not just Koji Kondo using this melodic snippet. I've also heard it in Kirby Planet Robobot. And in Zelda Minish Cap, which, despite not doing the 7th jump, is still certainly a reference to the Zelda flute motif, since this is the area associated with the game's ocarina, which also just plays the same motif. So in the previous Lick video, we talked about why I think the Lick is societally important from a listener's perspective. Today we'll talk about the opposite side. I think this whole Mitsuda Lick phenomenon actually provides some interesting insight as it relates to composition as a practice. Mitsuda definitely used this lick a fair amount. Though it's hard to make the claim that he would consider it a signature facet of his compositional style, he at the very least likes writing these kinds of brief chromatic descents. And this illustrates one of the hidden joys of composing that isn't really talked about, having this motivic creature you become so fond of that you put into as many things as possible like a proud parent. Ultimately, it's only one small part of building a distinctive style and voice as a composer, but it just feels so delightfully human to become attached to little motifs and melodic devices that you saturate your music with, intentional or not. You have something as overt and pronounced as Kazumi Totaka's Totaka song, a little melody he inserts as an Easter egg in most of the things he works on. Or Vocaloid producer Jamie Page's Constant Companions leitmotif. recently I've been into this dumb little lick. Sometimes, consciously or not, our motifs come from other people. Secret of the Forest, Dragon Spiral Tower, and Full Steam Colony's melodies sound very similar, especially given the adherence to the Mitsuda Lick's conventions. But I don't think this constitutes the evil P word, or rather it's not quite that simple. Dragon Spiral Tower's similarity to Secret of the Forest is such that many consider it to be a direct reference, but few note that the former's composer, Shota Kageyama, actually worked with Mitsuda only a few years prior on Luminous Arc. It's entirely possible he was influenced by Mitsuda's writing style or attachment to that motif. After all, Kageyama used the Mitsuda Lick in the tracks he worked on in Luminous Arc as well. Dragon Spiral Tower could have been a completely unrelated coincidence, or Kageyama's melodic sensibilities were subtly influenced through working on Luminous Arc, or it could be a direct homage to Mitsuda. It's ultimately just up for speculation at this point, but this does get to the heart of why I think this kind of thing is important. Composers being influenced by other composers' works and stealing, in good faith, small melodic sensibilities is a strangely personal and intimate form of non-verbal kinship. I've recently discovered Laura Shikihara's Everything's Alright from To the Moon, and I remember thinking to myself, that ending kind of sounds like Don't Forget from Deltarune, which she also sang on.
If you're with me, then everything's alright. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Then I discovered that Toby Fox found Laura Shigihara through this song, and considering he brought her on for Don't Forget, it's entirely possible this ending melody was directly inspired by the one Laura wrote. And if so, we have this wonderful through line of Toby being moved by Laura's music into the moon, and then he placed a mote of that feeling into Deltarune, creating this momentary synthesis between his and Laura's stylings. And this line presumably didn't start with Laura and certainly won't end with Toby. Of course, there are less overt examples of this kind of thing, perhaps just being influenced by a general style or orchestration choice, or just using ideas that are kind of part of the cultural canon at this point, like specific chord progressions, or something like the lick. It's not just limited to composers either. In fact, one of the most common rites of passage at Berklee is when you're 30 minutes into your senior recital in the Red Room and you have to remain stone cold as the dude right next to you is unironically blowing the lick in all 12 keys over Cantaloupe Island. But honestly, it's the biggest uniting cultural force for all first semesters, the cure for the jazz loneliness epidemic, and remains a binding joke for everyone in the know, despite requiring neither explanation nor acknowledgement. The Mitsuda Lick has everything it needs to be thought of in a similar fashion, at least within the video game music world. It's noticeable, ubiquitous, and has been acknowledged with a catchy little moniker. And because of that ubiquity, especially within the VGM sphere, it's easy to subconsciously borrow when you're trying to make your music sound more video gamey. When writing this part of the script, I thought to myself, there's no way I would have ever used the Mitsuda Lick in any of my compositions. Feels like a good melodic device, I suppose. I unknowingly used it in a few of my tunes throughout the years because I was inspired by the sensibilities of the music I listened to. Though I've never played Chrono Trigger, hearing the Mitsuda Lick in Pokemon, Undertale, and Mother 3 subconsciously influenced me. And that isn't to say that there aren't other licks, chord progressions, or arrangement styles that I'm consciously borrowing from other composers. Now, it's not like I'm saying I think plagiarism is a good thing, but when the real final boss of bad faith, soulless plagiarism is right around the corner, I think being truly moved and feeling connected to your fellow musician to the point of incorporating a small part of them into your own style is just so inherently human and connective. And that's pretty cool. Let me know if you guys have any other Mitsuda Lick tunes or other motifs that you guys like. I always like adding new licks, riffs, and motifs to my collection. If you liked this video, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and follow me on Patreon to support the production of future videos. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna take a break from listening to music for a sec. Ever since making this video, I swear I've been hearing the Mitsuda Lick everywhere and it's been driving me absolutely insane. Okay, come on now.